say your name? Young Mooski?
What? Buckram bottles of history. Donald Trump wasn't.
I've got the best word plays, ask my supporters. I've got more disabilities than a New York Times reporter. You're a scam, your whole nomination is a hoax. Your party is so pro-choice, they aborted a state's right to vote. You pencil-pushing pussy bows think you could scare me with prison? Get your mugshot and your mugshot, then come talk to me about convictions. To the radical left, you should be embarrassed. The way you divide our country, I'll call you Camel Toe Harris. Your inflation's got our nation clipping coupons, while it's leaking worse than a wet lab in Wuhan. I had every American's 401k thriving. Stock market's higher than the planes full of migrants you fly in. And don't even try to deny the cognitive decline you were hiding. Prop it up Joe like it was Wicked and Biden. I'm here to teach you what losing to a winner feels like. Ask Pence. I know how to drop a mic.
I know you're not all ears, but listen up close. You are JD Vance's fear and level weird. You are gross. You've been bending American decency over a barrel. Giving Lady Liberty the finger like Beasley and Carol. In that big creepy house with our secrets stacked in piles. From documents to pedos, you spend too much time with files. Having sleepovers with Laura Loomer? What's going on with you? Can't you afford more than Timu Melania? You failed in your own city. Fake ballot box in court. You're home alone too. You lost in New York. I was there on January 6th. It wasn't fun for me. Just like your bowels, I was evacuated suddenly. You were history's least hopeful, presidential hopeful, mood swinging wildly like stock and truth social. I'm here to build bridges from Texas to Niagara Falls.
She's even got better. Wow.
I hope you wrote that commie crap in red, cause you're taking a huge loss. This is ending worse for you than Afghanistan did for your boss. A man handed you everything you ever did. You couldn't make your own way, couldn't even make your own kids.
Your mommy was absent when you were just a little baby. And if she saw you now, she'd wish she were a childless cat lady. And if your racist landlord daddy wasn't dead to kill him, seeing me living rent-free in your head.
Well, I know how you failed the bar exam after that. I guess the half of you whose job it is to rap isn't black.
Oh, good one. You ketchup-smelling edgelord. You rock the beat softer than Stormy Daniels' headboard.
I can't believe I'm even in a race with this hog. Hope you're in makeup in Ohio, cause they're eating the dog.
Donald, I'm putting you away like a rapist back in Cali. You should leave this battle early, like the crowds at your rallies.
I have all the biggest rallies.
Yes, well, I've got Taylor Swift.
You're ugly.
You are ugly.
Well, you're a Marxist.
Jumpin' Jesus H. Huckleberry Christ on a crutch. No one wants to fight about politics this much. You, Madam Red, White, and Pantsuit. Don't let getting higher be the greatest thing you ever do. democracy straight to chapter 11. I've come here on the back of my musky antlered beast with a message for whichever one of you talks the least. This government was founded on self-evident truths, so keep it of the people, by the people, for the people. Moles! Who won? Who's scared? Protest!
King is born. I told you before. A king is born. Now I told you before. A king is born. Oh yeah. Oh no 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 no. Like a beast in the jungle, in the heat of the rumble, I ain't got nothing to lose. Hey, I've been fighting these hard times in the ghettos of my mind. Now it's victory that I choose. Hey, yes, my soul is blessed, the king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad, bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown is gone and stepping. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend, legend. Like a bull in a glass house, no bull about to smash out. Can't nothing stand in my way. Hey, I don't care what the place is, from the penthouse to pavement. You better hear what I say. Hey, yeah. Yes, my soul is blessed, the king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad, bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown is gone and stepping. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend, legend. King is born. Yeah, I told you before. Yeah, a king is born. Been broke before, but I never been broken. Told you before. I am the truth now, the truth has spoken. A king is born.
All right, everybody. Hey there. All right, welcome to Through the Fire podcast with TJ. I'm TJ. Listen, I got a lot to do today, a lot to get through today. So let me just explain a couple things for you guys who are here early. If you see me kind of like looking all over the place, look, the camera's right here, and I got a little bit of a new setup, some screens over here, so I'm going to be bouncing kind of all over the place, looking and stuff like that while I get through the stream. Also, if you decide to super chat, I'm not going to deal with the super chats until the end because there is just so much I want to get in, and I only have a very limited amount of time tonight to get through what I need to get through. So if you decide to grace me with a super chat, I will throw it up on the screen, but I probably won't end up reading it. I might try to get through them at the end of actually reading them, but I will put them up on the screen as you send them through. And I'll probably say this a couple more times throughout the stream because I got a lot to get through today with this actual stream, especially with voting day is just like a week or so away. So just please forgive me with that while we're here live. If I don't read all of the super chats and stuff like that, but if you decide to super chat me, I appreciate it. I'll put it up on the screen, but I really need to get through what I need to get through today because of the time constraints that I have. So I really appreciate it. And if you decide not to super chat because of that's perfectly fine too. We're here for the conversation and the perspective, and we'll just leave it at that. One other thing I want to talk about, I want to say before we actually dive into this, I want to make one thing perfectly clear from the start. because as I start progressing through the stream, it's going to seem like I am supporting something that I am not because of the way that I have it laid out. So I want to be clear and direct right up front. I am not voting for Donald Trump. I am not supporting Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is a whole dumpster fire. I think he's a megalomaniac. So I am not a fan or friend of Donald Trump or the Republican Party. So I'm saying that right now because of the way that I have the stream outlined. It was going to appear that I am advocating for something that I'm not, but you have to take this particular stream. You're going to have to take it in its totality because I'm going to hit on a lot of different stuff with a lot of different with a few different perspectives, but I'm going to be going in on a few things, and part of it is going to be addressing the Democratic Party, and the way that I'm addressing the Democratic Party is going to make it seem like that I'm actually pro-Trump when I am absolutely unequivocally am not. Under no circumstances am I that. But also, let me be clear, I'm not voting for Kamala Harris either. So I'm actually going to be doing a write-in vote this time for the presidency, but I'll be voting down ballot and also in my state elections and stuff like that. But I am not pleased with either one of these candidates at the top of the ticket. So, but to be perfectly clear, let me state this one more time. I am not a supporter of Donald Trump. I will never vote for Donald Trump. I think he's an ego megalomaniac. I think the man is maniacal, and I think he's unhinged. And everyone likes to forget what it was like just a few years ago under the Trump presidency and how schizophrenic that presidency was. I will not. So I'm just saying that right now up front so people actually understand, even though I'm going to walk through this stream the way I'm going to walk through it, you understand where I actually stand on the issue, okay? Because I got a different perspective, especially for those of these Trump dick suckers out here, boy. Especially black Trump nut gobblers. I don't understand it, but I'm going to address a few of them, and good God, you know what I mean? Yeah, just good God. All right. I think that's all the preamble I want to do. I just want to jump right into this. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for supporting. Thank you for the time that you're going to give me today. If it's 5 minutes or an hour or more, I appreciate the time that you're going to give me. But I got some shit to get into. And I know I'm not the most overly charismatic, entertaining guy, but I got some shit I want to get off. I'm going to get it off, okay? All right. Before we get going, let me go ahead and get this going. All right, let me get set up here. As you can see, my screen is on one area, this screen is on the other area, the camera's on another area. It's hard to do this the way I got it set up, but it's the most efficient way for me to do this the way I have it set up. So I apologize. Okay. All right, let's get with it. The title of the stream basically is Sell Your Vote. Black people, let me tell you this. Black people love, and I mean love to be finessed. We love being finessed so much that we will even help you finesse us. If you haven't noticed, Black people always tend to celebrate and uplift the scammer. That's why I think is one of the reasons we continue to vote for the Democratic Party. Black people ain't met a scammer, or a finesse that they didn't like yet. No diddy. The stronger the finesse game, the more we tend to worship that finesser. And let that sink in for a second, because it's the truth when you think about it. You know, it's the truth. We've been out here election after election voting for the Democratic Party like it's a birthright. And guess what? We are not getting a damn thing in return. We don't demand nothing. We don't demand no accountability. We just support with blind loyalty to a political machine that takes our votes and cashes them in at the political casino and then throw us a $5 Harris chip so we should be grateful. They cash it in and then they just, throw us a little $5 tip trip, a tip chip and want us to be grateful for that. Is this what we're really settling for? And that's a rhetorical question. We keep showing up, but where are the results? We're not holding anyone's feet to the fire because of that, we've been played and finessed. And it's time we start talking about how we just don't mind getting finessed. And we beg people to come in and play in our face. It seems like we can't cope with life without someone finessing us. And the Democratic Party views us as a bottomless pit of stupidity. Here's another thing you want to think about the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party likes to play favorites. They like to play favorites. And let's get real about the Democratic Party strategy here. For black women, you're getting all that Democratic shine. And black women are accustomed to that, to the shine of the big D, as in Democrat big D. The Democratic Party loves to parade black women around as the backbone of their voting base. And it's just not about saying thank you for the votes either. They're giving black women some real recognition, some real lip service. And in some situations, they make sure that black women are in key positions within the Democratic political structure. If you don't believe me, check her out. Simone Sanders was like, or like some of us like to call her, Miss Horseface. Miss Horseface. Wasn't she like the campaign chairman or chairwoman of the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign? Ain't she like a regular on MSNBC, and her and Joy Reid and all these other people? Yeah, they put us out. They love us. But okay, but that's fine. Okay, that's fine. But let's not pretend that black men aren't being ignored and disrespected and thrown under the bus in the process. Marginalizing black men is like America's favorite pastime, and it's not baseball. It's the marginalization of black men. It's the stomping out of black men. That's the real America favorite pastime, not baseball. You heard me. Black men were getting straight up disrespected. We're getting blamed, and we're getting curb stomped. The Democrats are telling black men, we'll get to your issue later. But guess what? Not a damn thing, not a damn issue, not a damn circle back. Meanwhile, they're using every talking point in the book to convince you that all the problems in black America, particularly single motherhood, is at the feet and fault of black men. They don't care about the actual facts of the situation. They're pushing the same tired narrative, and that is that black men are irresponsible, and that we're out here making babies and we're leaving women to fend for themselves. They're pushing the narrative that we're doing it in mass. And you know what? It's a damn lie. And unfortunately, black women are standing side by side with the Democratic Party to continue to help stomp out the image of black men in the little public value that we actually have. I'm going to get into it just a little bit, but in more detail later. But let's look at, I know a lot of people get real funky about the data, but let's look at the daily data. Only a minority of black men have children. Only 40% of black men have kids. So let me ask you this. Why the hell are all black men being blamed for the rise in single motherhood when the majority of us don't even have kids? Please make that make sense. And this isn't about facts. When I say this isn't about facts, I mean the Democrats' agenda isn't about facts. This is about scapegoating black men because it's easier than addressing the real issue. They're already trying to I'm going to get into this a little bit later, but they're already trying to hang, if Kamala Harris loses, they're already trying to find a way to hang that around the necks of black men. And also, the Democrats don't want to address, real issues that affect the black family system. They don't want to do that, but they rather blame us. The Democrats love talking about fixing things, but when have they ever come out with a real plan to not only support, to support the black family structure in a realistic way, but also support black men? They don't. And do you know why? That's because they think that we're all just going to continue to fall in line because we are a bunch of pussy whipped, titty fed, emasculated, feminized, groomed dudes that throw our vote in the ballot box because the head of the family, the black woman, said so. And let me be honest with you. That's exactly what we've been doing. No questions asked, no demands made. We've been loyal. And what have we gotten in return for that? We've been shamed. We've been marginalized, and we've been treated like a political afterthought. And let me tell you something. During this election, I believe, in my opinion, that the chickens are coming home to roost.
I say what the Quran says. I say it's justice. Assalamu alaikum.
Mr. X, don't you even feel a little bit of remorse, saddened by the President Kennedy's assassination?
Well, sir, I don't think anybody here would deny that when you send your chickens out in the morning from your barnyard, those chickens will return that evening to your barnyard, not your neighbor's barnyard. I think this is a prime example of the devil's chickens coming back home to roost. That the chickens that he sent out, the violence that he's perpetrated in other countries, here and abroad, be it 4 children in Birmingham or Medgar Evers or Lamumba over in Africa, I think this same violence has come back to claim one of their own. Now, being an old farm boy myself, chickens coming home to roost never made me sad. In fact, it's only made me glad.
I'd like to follow up on that.
The narrative of the irresponsible black father is nothing but a smoke screen. Sorry. And it's time we call it out for what it is. And the Democratic Party has no interest in telling the truth about black men, about who we actually are, because it's easier to push the lie. They don't want to talk about how most black fathers who are involved in their children's lives are actually some of the most involved dads compared to their other racial counterparts. Studies, surveys, and statistics show that black fathers, when we are involved, are more likely to feed, bathe, play with, and help our kids with their homework than any other group of men. But is anyone talking about that? Well, I mean, that's another rhetorical question. Even Oprah Winfrey had to come out and admit that we got it wrong about the myth of the black man. And she didn't do it with pom-poms on. She did it with clenched jaws and a clenched face. It was like a reluctant admittance And then that was the end of that. We just a brief passing admittance. Well, we probably got a little bit wrong about black men. The Democratic Party would rather tell you that we're the reason single mothers are struggling than that, and then also that we're the problem that needs fixing, instead of addressing the systems that they put in place, and then instead of addressing the policies that they put in place and the decisions, unfortunately, that our women have made. This created, the Democratic Party created the space for this mess, but somehow it's always black men that get the blame. And I'm not sitting here saying that we don't have a populace of black men that are a bunch of dumpster fires, because we do. But that's not us in mass. That's not the majority. It's not even the overwhelming majority. But we hyper-focus on our dumpster fires. And there's a reason behind that. There's a reason behind why we hype on the majority of our dumpster fires. That's because the dumpster fires, who's actually the minority of black men, they actually create the majority of the children. So we hyper focus on them because the dumpster fires are out here knocking up the women, and the women know that these men are dumpster fires, but they have children with them anyway. So this is crazy. And the Democratic Party has created the environment for them to do this. Now let me explain this to you. The Democratic Party isn't dumb. They know exactly what they're doing. They're throwing all their resources and focus on black women because black women seems to be the political whores of the Democratic Party. And it's politically convenient. Black women have been voting Democrat in massive numbers, and it's no secret that they became a key demographic for winning elections locally and statewide. But instead of building a comprehensive strategy that includes the men as well, they've decided that it's easier to just alienate black men and keep us playing the blame game with everybody. Black men blaming black women and black women blaming black men, and that keeps us divided. We're going to talk about at what rate does black men support the Democratic Party a little bit later. Have you ever wondered why the Democrats talk a big game about gender equality, but when it comes to black men, they're silent? They talk a big game about gender equality, but when it comes to black men, they're eerily quiet. It's because they think they really don't need us, or they believe that they already have our vote locked up. So they think. They're banking on the idea that we'll keep voting Democrat no matter how badly they treat us, no matter how much they ignore our needs. And guess what? For almost 60 years, they've been absolutely right. And this isn't just disrespectful, it's dangerous. It's been an effective way of dividing black men and black women and leaving black men without a political home, without representation, and without a voice in the very party that's supposed to be fighting for all of us. The Democrats are choosing identity politics over real meaningful growth and development. They're more interested in tokenism and symbolic gestures than actually fixing any deep-rooted issues that black families face. Here's the quiet part out loud. Here's the quiet part out loud. Democrats have no real plan for black men or the black family unit. That shit hit different when you say the quiet part out loud.
It's different, 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 it's different when I'm sitting here.
Yep, that shit hits different when you say the quiet part out loud.
It's different, 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 it's different when I'm sitting here.
Yes. So let's ask the tough question here, okay? Let's ask a tough question here. What's the Democratic Party's plan for black men and for the black family structure? Where is the platform that speaks to our specific struggles and challenges? Spoiler alert, there isn't one. You know what they're good at? They're good at coming around during election season, showing up at churches, coming to the barbershop, trying to shake hands and pretending like they care, like they're listening and like they care about your issue. But the microsecond that the election is over, they get ghosted. It's like a bad relationship. We, the voters, black men, black women, we give and we give and we give, but when it's time for them to show up for us, they seem to be nowhere to be found. You don't believe me, black men? When they talk about health care, do they talk about your health care? Do they talk about the fact that we are dying earlier than anybody else, and that we suffer from more untreated mental health issues than anybody else, and that we suffer from a lack of access to basic medical services? So let me ask y'all this. What the hell are we actually voting for? What are we actually voting for? And black women, don't think you off the hook, because the truth is you being finessed too. The Democrats are using you as a symbol. They're propping you up as the backbone of the party and the backbone of the family and the backbone of this. And whenever these Democrats are in trouble, they come to the black woman for her to put her fucking super cape on and to come in and save everybody but her own damn self, her own damn family, and her own damn community. But sisters, let me ask y'all something. What do y'all really get in return? What are they really giving you in return besides more broken promises? Sure, they'll put a few black women in visible positions symbolically, like they did it with the Supreme Court. We got to put a black woman on the Supreme Court. Joe Biden, I will put a black woman on the Supreme Court. Symbolism. Not saying the sister that got appointed to the Supreme Court isn't capable. Not going to say that at all. The woman's very capable, but they did it out of symbolism. Throwing you a bone here and there to keep you quiet from actually asking the tough questions about actual policies. The Democrats are fucking phenomenal at symbolism. But sometimes when it comes to substance, I'm talking about with policies, they fail short every single time. And they know that black women are their most reliable voters. and they exploit that loyalty without ever putting in real work to deliver on any real promise that they've made. They'll give you a version of the promise, but not the actual promise. And because we're all so caught up in the cycle of voting for them without asking anything in return, we let them get away with this shit. It's time to stop voting blindly. So here's another $1 million question. Why are we still voting for them without demanding any tangible things in return? Why are we giving away our most valuable political asset, and that is our vote? Why are we giving it away without making them earn it? If you're not making any demands, if you're not holding the people you vote for accountable, then you're just giving away your power for free. That's exactly what we've been doing. We need to stop voting blindly for these people. We need to stop showing up just because we're supposed to. It's time to start making real demands. If the Democratic Party wants our vote, then they need to earn them. They need to show up for black men the same way they show up for black women. They need to put forward real, concrete, tangible policies that will address the unique challenges that face not only black men and black women, but our family structure as well. They need to stop blaming black men for problems that we did not create. And they need to get active in supporting us in rebuilding our families. And when I see supporting us with policy, at the very least, if they don't want to do that, then at the very least, they could just get the fuck out of our way. No more scapegoating the facts. It's time to face some hard truths here. We've been giving away the most valuable thing we got, our vote, for free. And what do we have to show for it? Really not much. We're being finessed. And it's time we at least make the attempt to flip the script. Like Boogie Down Productions said, at some point you must learn. So let's learn today. It's time for us, melanated people, especially black men, to put our vote up for sale. That's right. I believe we should sell our vote to the highest bidder. The candidate or party who's willing to do the most for us should be the ones who get our vote. As simple as that. And when I say do the most, not just some symbolic gesture or some scraps or the come around once every 4 years. None of that bullshit. None of that. None of that. None of that. None of that. And let's be real for a second. Our vote is valuable. It's like what Karis once said. You're being lied to, and you think you're really free. But everything you do is controlled by the enemy. What enemy? The political machine that's been taking our votes for granted. We've been conditioned to think that our vote should automatically go to the Democrats without any questions, without any demands. But think about it. When you've got something valuable like your time, like your labor, or a product, do you just give it away for nothing? Do you just give it away for nothing? No, you negotiate it. You negotiate terms. You make sure You're getting something in return. So why the hell do we continue to give our votes like they don't mean anything? Like, black men, it's long overdue for us specifically to stop being afraid of our women and letting our women set the agenda for our families or for our community. When we know from a practical standpoint what is truly in our collective best interest, we need to stand on that. We continue to let our women punk us into doing dumb shit because we don't want to upset mommy. Over 60 years of a queen mother's reign as leadership over the black family, our collective image and cultural condition, believe it or not, how we want to call it, is in the ditch. And our women blame us after using the white man and his system to cut our nuts off. Black men, how many more times do you want to get kicked in the damn teeth like a dirty dog? We've been playing this game all wrong for far too long. Look at how other communities operate. They vote, but they also demand something. They don't just show up to the ballot box without knowing what they're going to get in return. They make sure that the candidate who gets their vote is going to work for them. And if they don't, they run that joker out of town. They're not about to give their loyalty away for free. Now, I know a lot of you is going to say, well, a lot of these racist white people keep voting for Republicans. Yes, because the Republicans keep giving them what they want. They're not just voting for them because, oh, they're blind. These people are getting something from them. That's why they keep voting for them. In the Republican Party, they're not afraid to play dirty. They're not afraid to get down in the gutter. They're not afraid to hit you with a sledgehammer. The Democratic Party are a bunch of weak little pussies. They want to do everything. They want to walk around with little sunflowers skipping through a lily field maze of daffodils or some bullshit. The people who vote Republicans, they don't give their vote. They don't give their vote away for free. They actually get some shit. Like Public Enemy says, don't believe the hype. Some say no to the album, the show, but much like Bo knows, it's not far for the pros. This is not for amateur hour anymore for us. We need to level up on our political game. We can't afford to keep voting out of loyalty or out of habit or out of fear of what the other side is going to do. Our vote is our leverage. And it's time we start using it like that. Now, let's get more specific, okay? Black men have been ignored, disrespected, and thrown under the bus by both sides of these political spectrums. We've been blamed for problems in the community that aren't even ours to carry, and we've been left out of the conversation when it comes to real solutions. Now, if I can quote Jay-Z, and when he said, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man," well, guess what? It's time to start acting like it. We are a political business, and it's time for us to start demanding what we believe we are worth. Because far too long, the Democratic Party has taken us for granted. They love to show up during election season, talking about how much they care about the black community, but where are they when it's time to deliver on the promise? You hear shit like, I'm not going to be just a president for just only black people. What I'm going to do is go help everybody. They don't have to deliver for us because we don't demand that they deliver anything for us. Meanwhile, the Republican Party hasn't exactly been a beacon of hope for us either. They've historically ignored us, written us off, and even worked against our own interests. But here's the thing. In the coming national election, neither party, neither candidate can win without the black male vote. Ain't that some shit? That's the power we've got. Like Kama said, I stand on the corner where the streets hold knowledge of power in politics. We need to address the elephant in the room. And that is black men. We're not the problem. The media, the politicians, and even some in our own community have been pushing this narrative that we're to blame for everything wrong with black community, particularly the single motherhood. But here's the truth: only a minority, like I said earlier, only a minority of black men already have children. That's right, 40% of black men are fathers. So why the hell are black men keep being painted as irresponsible or absent fathers? It's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie. And it's a convenient narrative that lets our women off the hook for the real issues. Nas hit the nail on the head when he said, I never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. And that's what's happening to black men in politics. We've been asleep, fellas. We've been quiet, and we've been and it's been killing our power. We've been blamed for the problems, but not given the support to be part of the solution. And it's time to sell your vote to the candidate who's actually going to do something for us, rather that be Kamala Harris or Donald J. Trump, either one of them. You got to figure out who to sell your vote. Now, some of you might be thinking, why in the hell should we sell our vote? Isn't this a little bit selfish? No, it's not selfish. It's strategic. When we've been given away our vote for free, we're still dealing with the same issues we were dealing with 30, even 50 years ago. If you're not making demands, you're not playing the political game. That's just it. Imagine if black men came together and said, "You want our vote? Then here's what we need. We need these things: more access to economic opportunities, better education, real health care for our communities. If the candidate wants our vote, then they need to earn it. And if they don't deliver, then they don't get a vote. Period." As the young ratchet girl say, period. We move on to the next candidate who will. That's how you play the game. When we start selling our vote to the highest bidder, the candidate who will give us the most in return, we change the dynamic. We go from being taken for granted to being the most sought after voting bloc in the country. Both parties will have to come to the table and make real offers. And guess what? The one majority way gets the results. Now let's talk about these candidates. Both of them. Good, bad, and ugly. We're going to talk about both of them. Black men are switching over to the Republican Party and Donald Trump, not because it's some deep-rooted political strategy, but they're switching because, and this is my impressions, they're switching because they're tired of being ignored. I think that's the whole cold, hard truth of it. And don't sit here pretending like you don't get it. decades of being taken for granted by the Democratic Party, being guilted and shamed by black women for not falling in line and not having a seat at the table while our needs are dismissed, have pushed a lot of brothers to the point of desperation. Even some of the Trump Negroes on YouTube, like Officer Tatum, Chaotic Truth, The Angry Man, and Anton Daniels from AntonDaniels.com. Guys like this, they're saying, the hell with it. If the Democrats don't want to hear us, let's see what the other side has to offer. Even though some of these Trump Negroes on YouTube, like Officer Tatum, Chaotic Truth, Angry Man, and Anton Daniels from AntonDaniels.com, are lying their asses off about what Trump offers and how his so-called policies will benefit black men, let's be real. This switch to Trump, to the Republicans, is less about us agreeing with the GOP platform and more about, demanding to be seen and to be heard. These Negroes are essentially looking for Big Daddy.
I must remind you, Django is a free man. He cannot be treated like a slave. Within the bounds of good taste, he must be treated as an extension of myself.
Understood, Schultz. Bettina Sugar?
Yes,
Django isn't a slave. Django is a free man, you understand? You can't treat him like any of the other niggas around here, because he ain't like any of the other niggas around here. You got it?
You want I should treat him like white folks?
No. That's not what I said.
Then I don't know what you want, Big Daddy.
Yes, I can see that. What's the name of that Peckerwood boy from town that works with the glass? His mama work over at the lumber yard.
Oh, you mean Jerry?
That's the boy's name, Jerry. You know Jerry, don't you, Sugar?
Yes, Big Daddy.
Well, that's it then. You just treat him like you would Jerry.
It seems like these dudes are looking for Big Daddy. They're tired of giving their loyalty to a party that has consistently failed them. That's what they think. The black men that are going to be voting for Trump are getting fed up with being expected to show up for a party that treats black men like we're just some guaranteed vote while offering nothing in return but lip service and symbolic gestures. And when we dare to question it or ask for something or step outside the box, here comes the shame, the insults. And most of the time, it's coming from within, and especially from our own women. Let's call it what it is. The Democratic Party has ignored black men for decades. Sure, they come around when they need the votes, but what have they really done to address the issues? It's the same song and dance every election cycle. They show up, shake hands, make promises. They have no intention of keeping, and then they disappear to the next election cycle. They've been riding the wave of black loyalty, knowing that we'll vote for them because the alternative for a lot of black people seems worse. But that's the trap, isn't it? They count on the fear of the Republican Party keeping us in line because, to be honest, I get it. Republican plus conservative plus states' rights equals the return to slavery. Black men in particular have been left out of the conversation, and they'll throw money at the issues that affect black women, talking about the Democratic Party here, and they'll promise and they're proudly taught how much they're doing for the backbone of their party, but where are the policies that speak to the entirety of the black community? Where's the real investment in education that keeps young black boys at reading level? Where's the investment into rebuilding black family structures, which brings about the best outcomes for black people. And if that wasn't bad enough, black men who dare to have needs, who dare to ask for something more from their vote, get hit with a double whammy. Not only are we ignored by the Democrats, but we're also guilted and shamed by black women for stepping outside of the lines. Far too long, black women have been positioned as the saviors of the Democratic Party, carrying the weight and water of the elections on their shoulders, while black men are painted as the ones who aren't doing enough. Despite the fact that black men tend to vote Democrat at an 88% clip. For real. The hell you talking about? What do you mean you black men ain't doing enough? We historically vote at a Democrat at an almost 90% clip, but we're not doing enough. There's no way in hell that for a lot of people and a lot of Democrats and a lot of people like Obama who's chastising black men, there's no way that this current Democratic candidate has major flaws. That can't be the problem. That can't be the problem. Black men just don't want to vote for a black woman. Really? And we want to sit there and focus on maybe the 1 or 2% of black men that actually feel that way, as if they're the norm. When black men vote at an 88%, nearly 90% clip for a Democratic candidate, no matter who the Democratic candidate is. Black men are constantly shamed for not living up to some arbitrary moving standard that we're supposed to be both provider and martyr, showing up for everyone else but ourselves. And when we start questioning the narrative, when we start saying, hold up, when we start saying, hold up, what about us? We get called selfish. We get called weak. Or worse, we get called traitors to the race. Come on now. Let's go over some of these guilt-tripping things. Black women are doing all the heavy lifting, and black men just don't show up, but 88% clip. If y'all would just support black women more, then we'll be better off. You know who said that? The women in the WNBA. The fucking women in the WNBA. If y'all just support black women, black sports more, we would be successful. They're saying that all the while taking a paycheck from the NBA. They're saying that while earning a living, albeit not the same as the NBA, because they don't want to do what the NBA is doing to make their sport more palatable. If it wasn't for the subsidy of the NBA, the WNBA wouldn't exist anymore. But black men ain't doing enough, and the NBA is littered with black men. We're not going to talk about what Kobe Bryant was doing behind the scenes to try to improve the WNBA before his untimely death. But black men ain't doing enough. Or like Obama said, you niggas are afraid of female leadership. These guilt trips. Meanwhile, we're out here hustling every day, trying to survive in a system that was built to try to slaughter us. But when we want to talk about the specific issues that affect us, like being over-policed, or the issue once upon a time of over-incarceration, or that black women have abandoned the family with more, have abandoned the family with more productive black men, instead of we're told to wait our turn, shut up and dribble, that our issue isn't a priority, or better yet, my favorite, y'all black men ain't shit. If I had a nickel for every time I heard some black woman talk about you black men ain't shit, all the while being supported by a damn black man. It's no wonder why so many black men are looking at the Democratic Party and we're like, why in the hell am I still here? Enter Donald Trump. Here's the part that makes everyone uncomfortable. Donald Trump, for all his flaws, for whatever the fuck reason, forget the motivation, he at least made some attempt to pay attention to what black men need or want. Now, he didn't necessarily deliver, and let that be clear, he's no savior, but he spoke to a lot of black men. He understood or gave the impression he understood that a large population of black men like Officer Tatum, like Chaotic Truth, like Anton Daniels from AntonDaniels.com, he understood that a lot of these brothers like him, like Angry Man, they're out here looking for a daddy. He saw that there was a contingent of black men that were pissed off and fed up, and Trump playing the role of master manipulator, he leaned into that frustration. Whether it was his pushing of the First Step Act that talked about prison reform, or just a simple acknowledging that we existed at all. He gave those disenfranchised black men what the Democratic wouldn't. And I know this is going to sound bad. He gave them some attention. Gave their issue some attention. Does that mean black men agree with Trump's racist rhetoric? I don't think so. Does that mean black men think Republicans suddenly have our best interest at heart? I don't believe that either. But it does mean that at a time when we're being ignored and guilted into silence by Democrats in the sisterhood who police our voting habits, Trump gave some black men an option to feel relevant. That's what this shift is really about, feeling relevant. And black men will be shamed about wanting to be relevant. And no other group will be shamed, trashed for wanting to be relevant. Black men are not supposed to want anything. We're not supposed to. We're just supposed to shut up, vote Democrat, give all our money to the other man's children, to another man's children, then lay our black ass down and die. That's what everyone expects of us. Shut up, vote the way we tell you to shut up, to vote, work hard, make something of yourself, and then turn around and give all your money, your resources, your time, to another man's child because if you're a black man, if you want a black woman, you finna get a baby mama. And then at the end of the day, do that without saying nothing and don't want nothing for it. And then when you're no longer useful, lay your black ass down and die. Go away. I don't believe for a second that this has anything to do with Donald Trump. I think this is about sending a message. And I don't think that this is a full-blown endorsement of the Republican Party or Donald Trump. This isn't about saying, hey, the GOP is the way forward for black men. I don't think that at all. But it is about recognizing that the Democratic Party has failed. And we're tired of being told to wait in line and shut up and dribble and vote blue no matter what. And if you don't like black women, your mama black, your sister black, you got issues, you hate black. Switching to the Republican Party or supporting Trump isn't about agreeing with everything they stand for. It's about sending a message. If you want our vote, you got to earn it. If you don't show up for us, you don't address the issues that black men face, then we'll take our vote elsewhere, even if that means voting for someone like Trump. Because at the end of the day, I believe black men have just made the decision to refuse to be invisible anymore. Now, some of you might get pissed off about that. But you being pissed off about that is why this shit is happening. Yes, I absolutely believe that this is a desperate attempt to be seen. I said it earlier, black men have been politically homeless. The Democrats don't take black men seriously, and the Republicans don't speak to our needs. So when someone like Trump, for all his raggedy ass faults, black men think at the least acknowledges that we're here. And it's no surprise that some black men are saying, screw it, let them have a shot. I think they're crazy, but I understand it. Unlike most of these black men who's going to vote for him, I remember Trump's first schizophrenic term. I don't understand how folk can forget just how much of a nightmare his presidency was. And to those who want to shame black men for it, who want to call black men traitors, or say that or black men is betraying their race, go fuck yourself. Because that lets me know how little you give a fuck about why this is happening and what the needs are of your men. If these men are going to this extreme, that's a major symptom that needs to be analyzed and not ignored, stomped out, shamed, marginalized, or dismissed. It will only make things worse. You don't have to believe me. Just keep doing what you're doing. You'll see for yourself. Black men have been loyal to a fault. And where has it gotten us? When I say loyal to the Democratic Party, it's gotten us nowhere. Still ignored, still marginalized, still blamed for the problems that aren't ours to fix. Like it or not, for a lot of black men, this is about demanding respect, whether you like that or not. I'll give you this. This seems to be a bit extreme. But a lot of black men are sick of asking to be heard and valued. And I hate to say this out loud because I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. Kamala Harris is going to lose the election. And yes, about 15 to 20% of black men isn't going to vote for her. And not because they're afraid to vote for a black woman. Because listen, only 33% of white men are going to vote for Kamala Harris. That means 80% of black white men are not voting for her. If Kamala Harris could get 45% of white men to vote for her, she would win in a landslide. But no one is jacking up white men about why they're not voting for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is still going to get between 75 to 80% of black men votes. She's still going to get that many black men voting for her. She's going to get damn near three times the amount of black men votes as she will white men vote. But no one is jacking up white men for only supporting her at a 33% clip. 80% of them white boys ain't voting for her. And ain't nobody saying a goddamn thing about what they're afraid of or not afraid of. But yeah, let's go ahead and continue to publicly lynch black men. Let's just do that. That's the answer. We do this to black men because it's just an excuse to continue not to deal with black men's fundamental issue. Black men are tired of being used as pawns in a political game that we don't even get to play most of the time. We're not content to be the side characters in someone else's narrative. We're not content.
I'm going to go ahead and just speak some truths, if you don't mind. Because my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land and is putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities, from housing to making sure that our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents can afford medicine, and making sure that we are dealing with prices that are too high and rents that are too high, and are committed to making sure that we maintain the Affordable Care Act, so everybody's got health care and cares about things like education and entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods. And that's on one side. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person. And you're thinking about sitting down? I'm not. But, you know, Cousin Pookie might be. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting. And so now,
so here's the deal. Black men switching to the Republican Party or voting for Trump or how we want to look at it, it really isn't about falling in love with conservative politics. It's not about that. It's simply about demanding more. These black men are tired of voting out of fear, tired of voting for a party that doesn't value, tired of being guilted into silence by our own women. And how long did you think that these black men or other black men would be okay with a continued practice of marginalization? 60 years is a long time to sit and hope for things to get better or to wait around for someone to take black men seriously. If the Democrats want our vote, they're gonna have to work for it again. If the black women who control the political narrative in the black community want our support, they're gonna have to stop trying to guilt us into submission and start recognizing that we have our own needs too, our own wants too, our own goals too. And a lot of them include you. And if neither side is willing to do that, then don't be surprised when more and more black men start looking for alternatives. When you ignore, marginalize, disenfranchise a group of people, dangerous shit happens. Arrogance allows you to keep doing that. Donald Trump is absolutely exploiting the rift between disenfranchised black men, voters, and black women who vote Democrat 95% of the time. And if you think this is just a coincidence, then you're the problem. This isn't by accident. This is part of a well-calculated plan. The Republican Party sees the cracks amongst blacks, and they're driving a wedge right between us. Knowing that black men are fed up with being ignored, knowing that black men are fed up with being blamed and sidelined by the Democratic Party. And the Republicans know that black men are sick and tired of hearing shit like what Obama just said. And I voted for Obama twice and would vote for him a third time. Trump and his cronies don't care about black men, no matter what dudes like Officer Tatum, Chaotic Truth, Angry Man, or Anton Daniels on AntonDaniels.com tell you. Trump and his ilk don't give a fuck about black men or black men needs. Let's get that straight. But what they do care about is using our frustrations with being politically homeless to their advantage. And Trump like he always do, like he does best, is tapping into that anger, and it's working. He's throwing black men just enough crumbs to make black men feel like we matter. But guess what? It's all smoke and mirrors. And let's be real about this. There are some black men out here doing this with their eyes wide open, like Officer Tatum, Chaotic Truth, Angry Man, Anton Daniels on AntonDaniels.com. They know damn well that Trump isn't going to deliver for none of us. They know damn well that the GOP isn't suddenly going to become the champion of the black man or the black family. But they're so fed up being ignored by the Democratic Party and so tired of the shaming tactics from black women that they're willing to vote for Trump as a giant fuck you. As a giant fuck you to the Democrats and to the black women. These men, all they want to do now is return a stomp out. Guys like Officer Tatum, Chaotic Truth, The Angry Man, Anton Daniels from AntonDaniels.com, they all know that this is self-sabotage. They know that. But they're willing to do it because, let's face it, we're already accustomed to voting against our best interests anyway. So voting for Trump or the Republicans feel like, like it's a protest vote. A way to stick it to Democrats who've been taking advantage of black folks for over 60 years. The truth is, black men have been voting against their best interests for decades, whether it's blindly pulling the lever for the Democrats without getting anything in return, or turning to Trump out of desperation for relevance. It's like jumping from one sinking ship to another, but I guess for these black men, at least this time, these black men feel like they're the ones steering the ship towards the iceberg, and they're comfortable with that. The Republicans are exploiting this, and they're banking on the fact that our rage and frustration will be enough to tip the scales in their favor, and I think it's going to. And make no mistake, Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He doesn't care about black men, but he cares about winning. And if that means throwing black men a bone and pretending to listen, he'll do it all day long and twice on Sunday. Because at the end of the day, it's all about numbers. And if he can peel off just a fraction of the black male vote, he knows he's causing a ripple effect in the Democratic base and in the black community. He's pitting black men against black women and dividing voting power and keeping us too fractured to demand anything. So to the black men thinking about casting a vote for Trump, I get it. You're pissed off, and you got every right to be. But don't fool yourself into thinking that this is about getting your voice heard. You're still voting against your own interest, just in a different way this time. The GOP is using our frustration, and once they've got what they want, they'll go right back to doing what they do best with us. The real game isn't about finding a motherfucking savior. Do you understand that, Officer Tatum? Do you understand that, Chaotic? Do you understand that, Angry Man? And do you understand that, Anton Daniels from AntonDaniels.com? Now let's spend some time with the Democratic candidate. Believe it or not, Kamala Harris became known from basically a single incident or a single innocent compliment that went wrong. That's how we got to learn about Kamala Harris. She was given an innocent compliment, it went wrong, and the Democratic Party went bonkers. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about? Y'all don't know what I'm talking about? In 2013, President Barack Obama, he got skint after he remarked that the Attorney General of California, Kamala Harris, was the best looking Attorney General in the country. And while that comment was innocent, the woke posse became outraged and accused Obama, accused one of their own of being sexist. The critics of the comment argued that Obama's comment reduced Kamala Harris just to her appearance rather than acknowledging her compliments as a qualified public servant. He said the best looking attorney general in the country. I don't know how in the hell that's not acknowledging her comments. He called her by her title, the Attorney General. That says a lot. And these people went bonkers. The Democratic Party's obsession with woke culture is starting to backfire. And if the Democrats don't get their shit together, it's going to cost them even more than this current election. Not only on a national, but on a state level as well. The party that used to claim to be the voice of the common man, the Democratic Party used to be the voice of the common man, is now driving itself off of a cliff, pandering to the most extreme fringe of its party. And it's starting to alienate the common man and the voters that they need to win elections. You want proof? Okay, let's talk about the 2016 election for a second. While everyone was busy focusing on the disaster that was Donald Trump, the Democrats were so wrapped up in virtue signaling, political correctness, and trying to outdo themselves in wokeness, they lost touch with middle America. In places like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, the three states that handed Donald Trump the presidency. These were people in those states who did not give a damn whether someone's gender pronouns were and what was going on with the last celebrity and if they were canceled or not. They cared about jobs, healthcare, their family, food on the table, money in their pocket. But instead of talking about that, the Democratic Party was leaning into the woke agenda. And it drove people away from their party, it's still turning people off. The Democratic Party dives into this over-the-top, holier-than-thou woke culture, the more they alienate swing voters in the working class. You know, like the people that they need to win elections, the people who live in the real world, who aren't worried about the latest terminology for gender identity and or who gets offended by the newest microaggression. People are more worried about paying their bills and keeping their jobs and being able to put food in the house and making sure that their kids get a decent education. The Democrats in this race, they're more worried about woke, being woke. Bill Maher, who was almost a lifetime, long-term progressive and liberal. These are self-described for him. Has been sounding the alarm for years now. Bill Maher has been ringing the bell for years, and he's nowhere near close to a conservative, but yet he's calling out his own people for veering too far off the cuckoo's nest. He's a guy who's been on the front line of free speech and progressive causes, even his concern that Democrats are going to lose the war if they don't stop playing games, these ridiculous culture woke games. One of Bill Maher's biggest complaints is that the Democrats are disconnected from reality, and a lot of times it seems like they are. He said on his show one time, Democrats are the party of every hypersensitive social justice warrior woke bullshit story in the country, and it's ridiculous. End quote. Bill Maher, the poster child for progressive liberal. Bill Maher isn't wrong. When your platform become more about identity shit and less about actual policies that benefit the people, you're playing a losing game here. You really are. The Democrats are so focused on appeasing the woke mob that they forgot about the common American ain't a part of that group, and they don't want to be. When you're more concerned about using right terminology for gender neutral binary bathrooms than you are for fixing healthcare or economic concerns or infrastructure, you've lost. You lost half the country. Bill Maher also said on his show, I keep saying this to the Democratic Party, you're going to get your ass handed to you if you keep going down this road. End quote. He definitely said, I was watching when he said it. He's been warning them, and they've been moving far, far, far over the edge and losing more and more and more common sense. And he's right. There's nothing wrong with being progressive or pushing for equality. But when you focus so much on woke culture, you lose the big picture. You lose the voters who just want government to work for them. You lose the election. The overreaction to Obama's comments about Kamala Harris was an over-the-top, ridiculous reaction to the former president's comments about Harris being the best-looking attorney general in the country. Back in, and this happened back in 2013. Sure, it was a lighthearted comment, but the way the woke left reacted, you'd think this man committed some kind of cardinal sin. The man was immediately labeled, the president, Obama, was immediately labeled a sexist. And the outrage machine went into full gear. If you don't remember, let me see if I can play it. See, Harris, best looking AG. Here we
He did two fundraisers yesterday in Atherton, California. At the second one, he was referring to the Attorney General of the great state of California, a woman by the name of Kamala Harris. He said she was brilliant, dedicated, and tough. And then he said this. He said she also happens to be by far the best-looking Attorney General in the country. It's true. Come on, as the crowd roared.
Yeah, big deal. Yeah, she is. She does happen to be good looking. I just think we've come to a place in society where everyone is so ultimately sensitive that you can't say anything anymore. She is. She's pretty. So what?
She is pretty. I tell you what, New York Magazine, though, says the president is in need of gender sensitivity training.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
They say, and for a president who has become a cultural model for many of his supporters in so many ways, the example he's setting here is disgraceful. You know, if anybody's going to be upset, it should be Eric Holder. I mean, here the president is saying she's the best looking attorney general in the country. Poor Eric.
Well, but I don't think that people.
This kind of overreaction doesn't win you elections. It turns voters off, especially those who are already skeptical of your platform to begin with. It makes people think if they can't handle a simple compliment, how in the hell are they going to handle healthcare reform? How in the hell are they going to tackle immigration? How in the hell are they going to deal with, foreign threats who want to destroy the country? They can't handle a goddamn compliment. Sends them off into a tizzy. Good grief. If the Democrats continue down this path of overly engaging in woke culture, they're going to continue to face serious consequences in state and national elections. Look at what's already happening in states like Florida and Texas. Florida and Texas used to be swing states. They're not swing states anymore. They're solid red dog Republican states. And the Democrats' obsession with woke issue is only making it easier for Republicans to win. And working class voters in these states don't care about woke ideology. They care about jobs and taxes and healthcare. Oh, don't be started about the damn taxes. When Democrats focus on appeasing the woke Twitter mob, they push these voters further and further and further away from them with nobody to replace them. And let's not forget about what happened in the 2022 midterm elections. The Democrats already lost ground in the House, and if they don't wake up talking about woke, they're going to lose even more. Republicans are licking their chops every time a stupid-ass Democrat starts tripping over themselves to prove who's the most woke. They know that as long as the left stays focused on fringe cultural issues, they can swoop in and win over the middle of the country like it ain't nothing. So here's the bottom line on this. The Democratic Party needs to stop engaging in this performative wokeness and start getting back to issues that matter to the average American. Remember, the Democratic Party was the party of the common man. They need to start focusing on healthcare, job creation, education, legal reform, especially what AI is going to do to the job market in the next few years. And not focus on the latest outrage from Twitter or TikTok. If they keep going down this path, they're going to alienate even more voters that they need to win elections, and they're going to keep losing. And Bill Maher has been saying it, and anyone with common sense can see it. The Democrats are moving too far to the left, just like the Republicans were moving too far to the right at one point. Woke culture makes you feel good about yourself, but it doesn't win elections. Common sense does. If the Democrats want to stay relevant, they need to drop performative nonsense and start focusing on real policies that benefit real people. Otherwise, they can kiss the little White House goodbye in Congress too, permanently. Listen, I want to talk about the Republican versus Democrat on the economy. And I got a clip that I want to play from Bill Clinton.
Ask ourselves the questions if we're going to hire a president. Do you want to build a strong economy from the bottom up and the middle out? Or do you want to spend the next 4 years talking about crowd size? You're going to have a hard time believing this, but so help me, I triple checked it. Since the end of the Cold War in 1989, America has created about 51 million new jobs. I swear I checked this 3 times. Even I couldn't believe it. What's the score? Democrats 50, Republicans 1. I'm glad that we've got a championship winning coach on our team. But even the most limited of us in what we know about football or any other sport knows that if you're got 50 and the other side's got 1, you're ahead. What about affordable housing? It's a terrible problem in America now. We need more. And
the largest period of economic growth in the United States over the last 60 years have overwhelmingly come under Democratic administrations. That's not a theory or some partisan talking point, it's a fact. Despite the Republican Party consistently chest thumping about being the party of economic prowess, the numbers tell a different story. Democrats have consistently overseen the stronger economic growth, more job creation, and better stock market performance than any Republican administration over the last 60 years. If you don't believe me, you can go back all the way back to LBJ. I'm not gonna I was gonna go through each of these presidents, but it would be just mind numbing to go through all of these presidents' economic stuff and whatever. But LBJ, who took office after Kennedy was assassinated, which was Lyndon Baines Johnson was a Democratic president, was a vice president, became president when Kennedy was assassinated. He had GDP growth of 4.9%. GDP, for those of you who don't know, is the total monetary value of all goods and services produced within the country's border. GDP growth is an indicator of a country's and economic performance. When GDP grows, it generally means that the economy is expanding. More goods and services are being produced, people are spending more and investing more, and employment typically rises. So he had almost a 5% growth during his presidency from 63 to 69. Richard Nixon, which was a Republican governor, Richard Nixon, which was a Republican president, he unfortunately, resigned in the middle of his term, but his economic policies started hunting the country in the 70s into the Ford administration, which was into the Ford administration, which was Ford was a Republican, and the growth was only 2%. Everything went belly up between Nixon and Ford, which ushered in Jimmy Carter, which Jimmy Carter's presidency, because it was a lot of his presidency was overshadowed by the Iran-Contra situation, but the economy grew almost 4%. Ronald Reagan, an economy that was booming. His tax cuts, trickle down economics, goes the economy. And then George W. Bush gets elected. George W. Bush, the first one, elected. He saw 2% growth. And because the economy was so bad, 8 years of Reagan and 2 years from George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush was the vice president to Ronald Reagan, then he became president. So we're talking 8 and 4. 12 years of Republican presidency, the economy was in the toilet when Bill Clinton took over. And then Bill Clinton grew the GDP, his administration, his policies. He grew over to by an average of 4% every year. And at the end of his years, Bill Clinton was the first president in a decade to balance the budget and have a budget surplus. And then after that, who came into the office? George W. Bush. And then George W. Bush destroyed all gains made and went into this thing called the Great Recession. You guys forget the banks collapsed, the housing market collapsed, all of that happened, the Iraq War, all of that shit, the Iraq and Afghanistan war, all of that happened in just 2 terms. When he left the office, the economy was in a free fall. There seemed to be no end in sight for the country sliding off of a cliff when Barack Obama took over. And in his term, 3.5% growth, 11 million new jobs created. Stock market soared to record highs, doubling values in his 2 terms. Healthcare reform. That's what happened. Donald Trump took office. His first term, grew 2.5%. And that was largely driven by the continuation of Obama policies. And then all of a sudden, we got COVID, and then we got a terrible tax bill. And that shrank the economy by 4%. And then Joe Biden took over a failing economy. And guess what's going on with the economy now under Joe Biden? If you think, well, let me back up. Here's the bottom line. Over 60 years of Democratic presidents have overseen larger economic growth and more job creations and better stock market performance than the Republicans. Despite all of the Republican bluster about being the party of business, the facts speaks for themselves. Every time a Democrat steps into the Oval Office, the economy improves. Every time the Republican, on the other hand, steps in, they leave a trail of debt and recession behind them. That's not an opinion. That's the cold, hard facts. But the propaganda says something different, but that's not, I don't care about propaganda. I care about the facts. Voting for Republican does not mean the economy will get better. That's a myth, a lie that's been sold to the working family for decades. And it's time to put that lie to bed. The facts are staring us right in the face. But too many people are blinded because they bought into this outdated notion that Republicans are good for business. They're good for business owners. They're good for corporations. They're good for that. They're not good for American family, your paycheck, your economic growth in your family. They have never been. They're on the side of the corporation, not the side of you. If you think voting for Republican is a vote for economic prosperity, let me hit you with some cold hard truth. Democratic presidents have overseen stronger economic growth, created more jobs, and built better outcomes for families than Republicans. And if you're still clinging to the fantasy that the Republicans have a magic touch when it comes to the economy, let's talk about how Donald Trump absolutely squandered the economy that President Obama left him, and left us with an inflation, tax hikes, and a long-term financial damage that we're dealing with now. When Donald Trump took office in 2017, he inherited an economy that was booming and robust. And under Obama, the country had just came out of the Great Recession. And by the time Trump sat down in the Oval Office, the economy was moving along like a well-oiled machine. Job growth was strong. The stock market had doubled. And the Republican Party grew. And the GDP was growing steadily. Obama's policies, from the stimulus package to saving the auto industry, from financial reform, had laid the foundation for a thriving economy, and all Trump had to do was not a damn thing. But what did he do instead? Instead of building on what was already a healthy economy, Trump passed the most reckless tax bill in American history. The Tax Cut and Job Act of 2017 that slashed taxes for the top 1% in corporations, ballooning the deficit and setting the stage for long-term financial instability, which is what we're dealing with right now. Trump's tax credit is the reason why inflation is going the way it's going. As long and the long-term effects of Trump's tax cuts, inflation, by putting trillions of dollars into the pockets of the wealthy who don't need it, while providing little relief to everyday Americans, the common man, the economy has overheated. Now we're dealing with inflation that's driving up the cost of everything: gas, rent, mortgages, food, while wages ain't keeping up with inflation. That's what you get with Republican policies: a short-term gain for rich, long-term pain for everybody else. Republicans are not good for your family. They're good for the rich. Let's stop pretending like the Republican Party is for family economics. They're not. They're good for the rich, the corporations, the CEOs, but the average working family, they leave us behind every single time. Trump's tax bill is the perfect example. It was a nightmare on whatever's left of the middle class. It's a promise to help. It was promised to help the middle class, but in reality, it was a giveaway to the wealthy. And now that bill is due now. And here's the kicker: many Americans who are actually seeing their taxes go up now because of the way the tax bill was structured and those initial tax cuts. And you know who they're blaming? They're blaming fucking Joe Biden. And Joe Biden had nothing to do with that goddamn tax bill. Joe Biden wasn't president then. He was a private citizen. And I'm not defending Mr. Magoo. That tax bill was a bait and switch. It was a con job, just like the president is. Or at the time, the President Trump. And this isn't just about Trump. This is a pattern with Republican presidents. They pass tax cuts for the rich, deregulate industries, and then talk a big game about job creation. But what actually happens? The rich get richer, the deficit balloons, and the working class gets left holding the bill. Trump and his Reagan with his funky ass trickle-down economics. George W. Bush, who squandered a fucking surplus and then led us into the Great Recession. And then Donald Trump, that obliterated a booming economy with his reckless tax cut. devastating what's left of the middle class. The idea that Republican presidents are somehow better for the economy is some bullshit. Plain and simple. It's a lie that's been sold to the average American for generations, but the facts don't back it up. Democrats create more in better shape than they found it. Democratic president has left it better than what they got. So the next time someone tells you that voting for a Republican is the way to fix the economy, remember this: Republican presidents have consistently left us with higher deficits, broken. If Democrats can get out of their own fucking way, then they could actually make the case that their policies build a stronger middle class than Republicans could ever dream about. And it's the Democratic presidents who always leave the country with a stronger economy. I don't know where this bullshit come from. Okay. Let me wrap this up. Black men, it's time to face the uncomfortable truth that we've been used, ignored, and taken for granted. For decades, we've been expected to align ourselves with one political party or the other, Democrats or the Republicans, while both parties have failed us at every turn. Let me say this blunt: we owe nothing to either one of these parties. The time has come for Black men to put our vote up for sale to the highest bidder, the candidate or party that is willing to deliver real, tangible results for us. No more loyalty to parties that have, and no more blind alliance. We need to start looking out for ourselves and our families and our women, even if they don't know what's good for them. Let's talk shortly again about this shift we're the secret that many Black men are fed up with the Democratic Party. We're tired of being ignored, sidelined, and blamed for problems that we did not create. We're tired of being told that Black women are the backbone of our community and of our families and our party, while our issues are swept under the rug. Donald Trump tapped into that frustration. He acknowledged that the fact that Black men were being ignored, and in a desperate attempt to feel relevant, some of us latched on to his rhetoric. Trump threw a few bones talking about criminal justice reform with the STEP Act, highlighted Black unemployment numbers, and even pandered directly to Black men in his speeches. But let's not get this shit twisted. Donald Trump is not the solution. Trump, like many other Republicans, isn't interested in building the Black family or empowering Black men. His policies favor the wealthy and leaves the rest of us, especially Black men, scrambling to make ends meet. In his 2017 tax bill, it disproportionately benefited the richest Americans and corporations, while working class, including Black men, were left with crumbs. We keep electing people that we believe that are like us, and these ain't nothing about them like us. Trump is a billionaire businessman. He went into that office to advocate for his clan, which is other billionaire businessmen and corporations. But somehow we think Trump is like us. And that nigga ain't like us. The idea that Trump or the Republican Party is going to save black men is short-sighted. They're using us for votes, just like the Democrats. But they're using us to destroy the Democratic Party. Speaking of Democratic Party, the Democratic Party has alienated black men for decades. They've taken our votes for granted, assuming that we'll always show up for them because the alternative, Republicans, is worse. But the problem is that the Democrats aren't delivering either. They love to parade our black women out as the heroes of their party while leaving black men behind. Where are the policies that address specific issues for black families, period? Black women, children, men, period. Where's the targeted economic investment in black men like they tend to give lip service to black women? Instead of uplifting black men, the Democrats have consistently propped up a narrative that blame us for the struggling of our families and our communities. The single mother epidemic is consistently laid at our feet, even though most black men aren't even fathers. And according to the data, that's only 40% of black men have children. Yet we're consistently blamed for the high out-of-wedlock birth rates. The Democratic Party has weaponized this narrative that black men are irresponsible while ignoring the systemic issues that keep us locked out of a lot of different situations, including social mobility. It's a slap in the face, and we're tired of it. It's time for black men to look out for ourselves. No one is looking out for black men, not even the Republicans, not even the Democrats, not even black women. Yeah, I said it. Not even black women are standing up for us anymore. Instead, they're being propped up as the heroes of black culture in the Democratic Party while casting their men as the villains. While casting their men as the villains. I can do bad all by myself.
Since everybody knows what it is that I need to do, well, do me a favor. Let me worry about me, and you worry about you. All by myself.
The I can do bad all by myself mentality has taken root in black women, with black women embracing a narrative that says that they don't need their men. This idea, fueled by policies that incentivize single motherhood and government dependency to a degree, has fractured our families and left black men on the outside looking in and trying to figure out what the fuck just happened. Black women are celebrated for their independence, while black men are blamed for everything that goes wrong. But let's be real, the Democrats benefit from this divide. As long as black women continue to vote in massive numbers for Democratic Party, the party can afford to ignore the concerns of black men. The divide and conquer strategy is working perfectly for the Democrats. They don't need to address our issues because they've convinced themselves that we have no other options. But we do have other options. It's time for black men and even our women to stop aligning ourselves with either one of these fucking parties and start demanding more. We need to put our vote up for sale, not to the highest bidder in terms of campaign promises, but to the party or candidates who is willing to deliver real concrete results for the black family. And the black family isn't just a woman and a bunch of fucking kids. It's the black man, the black woman, and their children together. You want our vote or you want to keep our vote, you are being put on notice. Earn it. You're going to have to earn it. This isn't about abandoning for black men, the black community, or turning our backs on our people. It's about self-preservation. It's about survival. Black men have been loyal to a fault. 88% clip have we voted Democratic. Despite the narratives to the contrary, we've given our votes away without asking for anything in return, and it's time for that to change. We need to start thinking about our vote as leverage and as currency. If a candidate or a party wants our vote, they need to come to the table with a real plan, not platitudes, not pandering, but with policies that work for both of us. And most importantly, we need a cultural shift that recognizes the value of black men in our families and in our communities. I promise you, Donald Trump isn't the way. And Harris isn't either. But Donald Trump, shit. I'm sorry, but I can do bad all by myself.
And listen to a single mom.
If we continue down this path to either political party, nothing will change. We'll keep getting ignored, keep getting blamed. We'll keep getting ignored, blamed, cast aside. But if we start demanding more, if we start using our vote as leverage, we can change the game. Black men have the power to shape the futures of this country, but only if we recognize our how valuable our vote is and stop giving our loyalty away for free, especially out of some misguided guilt to our women. Part of leadership is doing the thing that nobody likes. No more excuses. No more settling. We got the whole world in our hands. And to quote the late, great Joe Madison, black men, what are you going to do about it?
A king is born. I told you before. A king is born. Now I told you before. A king is born. Oh yeah. Oh no. Like a beast in the jungle, in the heat of the rumble, I ain't got nothing to lose. Hey, I've been fighting these hard times in the ghetto. soul is blessed, the king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad, bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown is gone, it's dead. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend, legend. Like a bull